Hello, welcome in, guys. We are short a person, but hopefully Brian the Gravedigger will join us in progress at some point. I have my wonderful panel with me, Rosetta Allen, the lovely Rosetta Allen, who is looking completely ravishing this evening. We have Script Doctor, who's got his beautiful avatar, the nameless blue shirt and the glasses.
Well, I don't have a face, so I got to paint the glasses on.
So, okay. Basically, this is our second episode of Battlestar Galactichat. So, if you guys would like to see more live streaming panel content, please make sure you smash that like button on the bottom and
smack it like a drunk in a pub.
Yes, get the word out to your friends. Let them know. The panel streams are really fun, and we enjoy doing this. We enjoy entertaining people, and we enjoy informing people. So
I just enjoy running my fat mouth.
Yeah, well, we enjoy doing that too. I think all of us do, but it is what it is, man. It's fun. But as for the rest of the panel, there is me. I am Drew Taylor, aka Supreme Heretic.
Big pain in the butt.
Your favorite writer for the esteemed website Bounding Into Comics. So make sure you read me there if you want to. boundingintocomics.com. We have great stories there, and we have an awesome staff. So I have some invites out to those guys. So maybe we'll have some of the Bounding guys stopping by. So we'll see what happens. But we're going to lead off with some, Battlestar Galactica news. Not much has changed since our little debut episode last week. The Script Doctor, I don't know. I know you've reached out. What have you found out on the officially unofficial channels?
Basically is that they're still in kind of concept and development stage. I do know that there hasn't been a script written, or at least it hasn't been shared with anyone at Peacock or NBC Studios yet. So yeah, it's still, I guess, in the early development stages, and there hasn't been any leaks. Everything's been pretty close to the chest right now, and I probably will be like that until, I would say, the new year. We're probably not going to get a whole lot, maybe little bits and pieces here and there. If he does another interview about the show, it'll happen definitely before Black Friday. That'd probably be the latest we'll get anything sort of big. And then Hollywood kind of shuts down for the winter, at least on the production side of things, until January. So yeah,
they could shut down permanently. It wouldn't be so bad.
With some of the projects recently, you're not wrong about that, Rosetta. But as far as
this one,
as far as casting, when would they decide to cast people for this project?
Well, January is the start of pilot season. So if they are looking for production and release to be in late 2020, the earliest they can do it is this coming January. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's talks going out about who to get or who to go after for the series as they're still developing the script. And then January will be when they get everything in line. So they might do casting inquiries out to agents, or requests to actors, or independently repped agents and actors will be seeking any sort of casting calls for sci-fi from NBC Studios, and just try to get everything all arranged over the holidays so that once January hits, they can cast and go straight into production. But that's all based on whether or not there's a script that's been ordered in for production.
Yeah, I would imagine that they have probably some sort of outline, some sort of working outline that they're thinking of, and I think at this point they're probably trying to figure out still which end of the spectrum they want to go. If they want to go like off of more or less 150,000 years later from the end of the 2004 show where it ended, or if they want to, sort of go back in time to the first Cylon War and pick up there. And I think that's probably a big deal of what they're trying to figure out is the setting.
As far as I could tell, yeah. I mean, ideally, you would think that they have that part of the concept down, and it's just working out the details of execution. And also, like, what is this season going to be? Is it going to be a traditional hour-long 22 episode type of thing on the streaming network, or are they going to be more contained, like 8 to 13 episodes?
Oh, I see Mega Jetty's in the house. Hey, what's going on, my guy? Good to see you. Most definitely.
Jetty.
So it also looks like we have a and I actually did not know this, but apparently we have a BSG comic called Battlestar Galactica Twilight Command, and I'm going to go ahead and screen share this and let you guys check this out because
cool.
It might be worth some people out there, might want to order it and whatnot. So we'll see what you guys think. Let's see. So this is basically what it is. Full first issue, Battlestar Galactica Twilight Command. This comes from a site called Newsarama, which I've never heard of, but oh well. Battlestar Galactica Twilight Command TP. Writer Michael Moretti. Artist Bruno Tamara. I don't know. Cover Brent Schoonover. I don't know if anybody that is familiar with comics has heard of these gentlemen. It's 120 pages, $19.99, and the blurb that it says here: it's a dangerous time for the last remaining humans. Captured by the Cylons on New Caprica, the colonists live in fear of what every new day will bring. As the Cylons press their oppressive and life-threatening agenda, sounds like China, the survivors grow more desperate to reclaim their freedom. But there's hope. Out in the wilds of New Caprica, beyond the Cylon boundaries, is a band of human freedom fighters. They answer to no one. They fear no Cylons. They are Twilight Command, and they have a plan. So, again, this guy's writing credits Michael Moretti. Apparently, he did a comic called Wasted Space and Archie Meets Batman 66. And the artist, Bruno Tamura, Batgirl, and Birds of Prey. So actually, they got some decent credits behind them. So, the comic may be worth picking up. Again, it's from Dynamite Entertainment. You could go and check out, I'm sure Dynamite Entertainment has a website. And if you use that Newsarama article that I have up here, you can just there's a clickable for it right there, so you're good to go. So that's basically the BSG news that we have for now. So
an obscure comic. So an obscure comic, but that might be worth looking into.
Well, it looks like from the preview, I like the.
That's some good art. Yeah,
I like the art.
That's sexy demented on that cover. Wow.
Yeah, I like the art, and it looks like there's a Centurion. The way that they make the Centurions look is really awesome. I really, looking at this, man, I really do like the art. The art in this is amazing. The art guy, whoever the art guy is ridiculously good. I mean, yeah, look at this.
The artists. You know, there's a certain type of comic art, either old style soft lines or modern style, where if they do it just right, there's this almost like sex appeal to the beauty of it. It's just sexy pretty.
This is really really great art, you guys.
Yeah, that should be good for your chat to have the girl saying sexy pretty.
Well, yeah, I'm just looking through this. Just looking through this, I mean, the art is absolutely, it just jumps off the page at you.
I'm going to interrupt briefly to say hello to Tommy. Tommy is the bomb, and he had my back on my stream when the bots started attacking me.
Tommy, what is up, my dude?
Stayed the whole 15-hour stream to keep me safe and help me keep track of stuff.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, I didn't realize, like, I've missed a couple of streams these past 2 days just working on my own stuff.
Tommy.
But yeah, doing a 15-hour stream, that's impressive.
I did a 15-hour marathon, and the Bree bots came in force, attacking it really vulgar, and Tommy kicked their asses.
Yeah, he did.
I threw him a wrench partway through it, and he just kept them in line and helped me keep track of the stream the rest of the time for like 12 hours after. So
yeah,
I have to stop long enough to give some support to the boy.
Yeah, Script Doctor. This art though for this comic is awesome. Wow,
that art looks, yeah. You know, I'm the art nerd. I love making and doing artwork, and that's the kind of stuff you appeal for, where you can see the depth of the characters enough it pops. Because there's this fine line. It's really difficult to hit sometimes, and if you miss even slightly, comic edges can fall flat really easy.
Yeah, so that's pretty much. Oh, Brian made it. Yes,
hello, Brian.
There's our fourth panelist.
Sorry about that. I just saw the message on Twitter.
I kind of figured you forgot what I saw your stream up.
Yeah.
But I was.
The crazy thing is I still have the other one going as well.
No, Moira's in the house too. Look at that.
Uh-oh.
Hi, Moira. Meow. What's up? So, guys, really quickly, you know, I want to give props to Rosetta. She's looking damn fine tonight, you guys.
I have to draw attention to my outfit.
You know, so Mark, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. And you know,
looking at the artwork, Brian, for a Battlestar Galactica comic.
Yeah, we were just going through. Yeah, you missed that, Brian. We were going through the art, but yeah, guys. Again, check out that website for Dynamite Entertainment if you want to get.
Do we have the link to throw it in the chat here?
Let me pull.
You can give me the link in the private here. I can throw it, or you can put it in the chat, whichever.
Yeah, I'll drop you the link to the article again.
Pretty sexy edges in the artwork in that line.
Yeah, this is the thing, Rosetta. It just you can't message people privately on StreamYard, can you?
No, you can put it in the private chat, or you can put it in the live comments and put it directly on your page if you want. However you want.
We'll just put it in the comments, and then you guys can do that. But there's a link to the issue, guys, if you want to pick up this comic. It looks really good because we just
it does that artwork.
Not only that, the premise of surviving on New Caprica under Cylon rule, that is a show in of itself. I mean, I guess that's what they're leading to with the original Caprica series, like the war, that first type of conflict, that war and the divisions was probably going to be the end game. And who knows, there might even be some borrowings from this medium into the upcoming show.
Yeah, so I would not be surprised if they do that to where Tommy, it's going well, my guy. I would not be surprised, Script Doctor, if they do something, and that's why I keep leaning towards First Cylon War, only because I figure like the way that they would do concurrently with Battlestar Galactica Deadlock, the video game, and then if you've got this comic series to kind of take you in during that period, like season 3 of the show where they were on New Caprica, that's pretty cool, because if you've got all these different mediums going, that would really help out the show as well.
Oh yeah, diversifying the media outlets for merchandising purposes usually pays for part of the show. They really the WB network, before they became the CW, did that actually coincidentally enough to China with their Smallville and Supernatural package. They ended up overselling it for like 4 times what it's worth, and it paid for like 3 seasons.
Well, they did. I know that there's been success before. I know that I remember there was a game for the TV show Defiance. Sci-Fi Channel had a show called Defiance for a while, and it ran concurrently beside they had a Defiance video game, and you know that was pretty awesome, and that actually worked out well for them, because it gave the show some extra longevity, because like DLC would get added to the game based on the show, and things would stay fresh in both based off of each other. So it was actually pretty good.
Yeah, I remember Defiance. I have a whole lot of friends that ended up working on that show on the production and acting side. They had a lot of fun, but the scripts, they kind of well, sadly, they didn't really pull in the wider audience that they needed to, and also Sci-Fi didn't do the best job of marketing that show on their network.
Sci-Fi has issues marketing. They also have issues where they like to end every show at about 3 years because they don't want to pay for more production, because there's like a 3-year contract where they get cheapened taxes and fines for filming while they film in Canada, where they do most of it. And after 3 years, they pay more.
Yeah, everybody that's in this chat right now, I mean, and all of us, I think we're all in agreement, because at some point in time, we've had some science fiction or a horror show on Sci-Fi Channel that we've enjoyed, and they've cut it off
years, and it's way too early.
Yep.
It was awesome when it was Universal, but now that it's NBC, they don't put the money into it anymore. It's like they don't care.
Peacock lives up to its name quite often.
Yeah, they're.
Well, there's a number of reasons why they do the three season method, especially when they're getting the tax credits in Canada. The first one,
it's substantial. I've looked at the information. It's like third the cost during the first 3 years.
Yes, it's definitely that. But also, once a show passes that 100-episode mark, then that's when royalties change, and that's when all contracts get renegotiated, and syndication and streaming opportunities open up a lot wider. And that ends up either, if the show is really, really good, it's basically all profit. But if the show is kind of in the mid-tier popularity, they end up spending more money on marketing, and it just kind of drains things out. On top of that, there are a lot of creatives, especially on the production and writing side in television, that don't want a show to go too long because it will get stale. And so some of them have been trying to negotiate ways where they can do a contained series within a 3-season structure or a 4-season structure. But a lot of other writers, especially on the staff side of things, don't want that, because they want a staff job, which is something between 5 and 7 years, because it helps them build a resume. It's a stable income in an industry that doesn't have stable income. So they kind of are trying to have it both ways. It's really difficult. And I feel for a lot of these guys, because, I'm usually, in the worst case scenarios, I'm brought in on the day of filming to fix a scene because they're frustrated or can't nail it.
Because of the profit level a lot of these companies are having at the higher end of it, I don't really feel bad for the studios doing this crap. I feel bad for the people in the bottom how they deal with it. Because some of them, they get some pretty high profit levels on some of this stuff.
Some of them do. I mean, the money in there's like for a pilot director, they get paid anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000 for whatever show is made after the one that they shoot as a pilot, because it's called like a familiarity or a standards of practice or the image of the show type of contract deal. There's a whole bunch of different terminologies for it. The next part is that the showrunner and the writing staff, they make a killing on these shows. That's why every writer starting out wants to get a staff job, because you make the money there. Then the actors come next. They get obviously a bigger portion, but the one thing that always hurts the series is mostly their agents, because once it hits that second or third season, the agents renegotiate. And what ends up happening is some of the main cast gets executive producer credits. They get a bigger slice of the budget, and then you see how that's negatively affects the rest of the shows. Like, you have a science fiction show like Defiance, where the town is bustling with a whole lot of people, background characters and extras, but by midway second season, it's just the main cast and two guys in the background, and you're like, well, this world does not feel lived in anymore. And it's because some of the staff some of the cast has gotten a bigger cut, or maybe someone higher up outside of the studio, outside of the main production, but in the studio, is taking in more money to reinvest in another project that they want, like a passion project or something. It's just kind of crazy to see it that way. And the weird part is that most studios, even when a show gets really, really big, they just try to keep those costs down low so that they can maximize their profit instead of investing and spreading it out. Like they used to do that in the old days, like all
shows,
the time.
and they're getting massive profits, and they're still really skinflinting everything. Is when I roll my eyes.
See, I always used to think, script actor, I always used to think that, like, didn't it used to be a show had to run for 5 years before you could hit syndication?
Yeah, 5 years or 100 episodes. It all just depends on the episode order. Like sometimes cartoon shows can have one season that's 60 episodes, and then the second season is also 60, and it still doesn't hit syndication. But usually the goal is for a cartoon show to hit syndication. With a television show like Cheers, for instance, they hit 100 episodes, I think, a lot earlier, like just after the fourth season. Usually it's like midway of the fifth season, but they hit it further.
They'll do like 20 to 30 episode seasons, so they'll actually hit that 100 at like the end of season 4.
Yeah, exactly. And then that's when you get your syndication and all the benefits that come with that. But in the 80s, when network affiliates were able to have a little bit more pull, they started having shows that would be purchased on syndication right at the start. Star Trek The Next Generation is like the first big example of that happening. And what's also brilliant with that is once it started to make money in the third season, they expanded on the show. They brought in other characters, new regular cast members. They boosted up their special effects and makeup budget. It was kind of like the original idea of actually reinvesting in the show, because one thing that you noticed is you wouldn't see the cast members become executive producers on the show, but they would do other things, like they would guest direct or co-write with a script. But now it's completely different. It's like as soon as it starts making a lot more money, hold on to that money and keep the budget as low and tight as possible, and maybe we'll be able to amortize some new sets with like a crossover series, or be able to sell off an old set to another production and then rebuild something new to kind of make the show seem fresh, but really they're not doing anything different or new. It's a lot of, I would say, creatively unethical practices in order to keep people still employed, as opposed to taking some risks with content.
I do have to say to this whole thing, though, I actually have to give some mad props to Vancouver, because they figured out what was going on, how bad things were in this system, how expensive a lot of these places were charging it, and they worked a system where they can get massive amounts of things all being filmed there constantly, paying for a lot of what the city needs to function. They did something really intelligent in the middle of the mess to make the city better off.
Yeah, they balanced out the tax credit systems and also really exploited the diverse landscape of the province. The only sad thing is, especially when it comes to Canada, is that on average, there's only about 30 productions going on in a year in Canada. Like most of those are television shows, so you have multiple jobs per week. But 30 productions is like nothing. That's like 4 hours in Hollywood, or maybe a day in Atlanta. It's really, really small. And the sad part is that most of the best film crews that you see in those big Hollywood production movies and television shows like Swamp Thing and anything in LA, those are mostly staffed by Canadian employees. Like they're the guys that do a lot of this stuff. And then when you go to like Australia, you have some really great cinematographers out there in Australia and New Zealand that get flown over to LA or Atlanta to do some like fantastic work. And the sad part is that even the tax credits that are great over there, they're not as insightful or enticing as what you can get in either Georgia or in Vancouver.
So bottom line, guys, is for the new aside of the new BSG comic, it's kind of like no news is good news for now, but there should be details slowly but surely crawling out. I'm guessing from the timeline that Script Doctor says loosely, it'll probably be sometime in December, get a few more details, and then might get some casting rumblings late December, mid-January.
Yeah, I wouldn't expect the floodgates of information to open up on this until like middle January.
So, okay, well, at least we've got a little bit of a rough timeline. But you can't expect reckless speculation from us.
Because, who knows what we'll hear.
We can say whatever we want because we're just speculating, and honestly, it's kind of fun just to be a pain in the ass to Hollywood.
Mm-hmm.
And who knows? Maybe someone's listening, and those speculations help get the ball moving a little faster. That would be great.
There we go. There's Brian's back. We lost him for a minute.
Yeah, I had mic issues there for a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I kind of figured something happened because usually you say something and you just kind of went poof right as we were speaking.
Okay, so segueing into our next topics. So we had a lot of stuff since the last time that we talked to you guys. There's been stuff I've been writing about on Bounding. And, of course, my esteemed boss, John F. Trent, shout out to John. He went to New York Comic Con. And, the rest of us, we got to see you guys know, as far as the Band of Menace folks, Jeremy for Geeks and Gamers was there. Gary from Nerdrotic, Cecil was there. A bunch of people were there. So, we got to see, in general, the new Star Trek trailers. And let me tell you, okay, at least from my opinion, and I'll start off here. I'll kind of go like really quickly. Discovery. Oh man, what can you say about Discovery? Basically, in a nutshell, I was not surprised. I was not surprised that they just, went with the lazy storyline of, hey, the Federation's all messed up in the future. Hey, who's gonna save it? Oh, Mikey Spock. So, I was not impressed by that.
As it is, that is not Star Trek. Star Trek is intellectual, and that is popcorn film.
That was so lazy, man. It was such a lazy trope.
The entire show, there's nothing intellectual, there's nothing cerebral about it. It is not, whether they use Star Trek names or not, it has no Star Trek soul. None. It's not Star Trek.
And then essentially, so if anybody watches the Discovery trailer, that's basically what it is. And I don't mean to be spoiler guy, but that's what you're going to get. It's going to be like 2 minutes of like different cuts of Mikey Spock walking around and people telling her like, "You're the only one that can save us, Mikey Spock." That's pretty much what you're going to get out.
Our only hope, huh?
Yeah. Mikey.
Yeah, but she wears it with pride. Like it's not even a burden to her. It's just like, okay, yeah, I can do it, I guess.
Yeah. So,
where's the character conflict? Where's the intellectual discussions? Where's the debate on whether or not something's right or wrong to do? How to fight somebody correctly? All this stuff. The intellectual of Star Trek.
All right.
Oh,
so-
that's not fair because none of the writers have ever tackled sci-fi or anything behind teenage
Have a
drama.
brain to be intellectual with.
Yeah. Brian, what did you think of the Discovery trailer?
I actually didn't even check into it, to be honest with you. I haven't cared.
Okay. Fair enough.
As horrible as that sounds, that's pretty much where I'm at with it.
I mean,
I didn't watch the trailer. I just hate that show with a passion. So
I look at it. I look at it with that same sort of disdain, you know. I gotta say, as Doomcock does, because I just, oh man, Discovery. Even if I took an objective opinion of it and watched it, and I've seen some episodes of it, it's just so there's no flow to it. It feels really disjointed to me. And that's the thing that bothers me. When I watch a show, I don't like for it to be disjointed.
Yeah.
You know, I like there to be some sort of flow to it. And Discovery has no flow.
No, because they don't break the season. They break each episode, but I don't think they coordinate between all the other writers. It's so mishandled. It's really just a giant clusterfuck of screw ups with this show. I mean, I'm sorry to use such language, but
No, go for it, man.
but like okay, so the worst part is like, so I work out in LA for mostly the spring and the summer, and then I come back to Canada for the fall. Currently, right now, I'm just on the outskirts of Toronto, and I do know at least 2 or 3 times before the new year, I'm going to be called down to Pinewood Studios by the Toronto Island and asked to do something. And if it's on this show, I'm going to fucking flip.
okay, I have a little rant that explains why I hate Discovery a bit.
The floor
And
is
it's also
yours.
why I can't stand the new Star Wars and why I can't stand all this other stuff. It all comes to one thing. Those who understand the origins of these sci-fi genre companies, these franchises, there were a few things to always consider. Star Trek was always based in the intellectual. It was always based in government action, literature, sociological, and it was always about intellectual discovery of morality. Star Wars was shoot 'em up, but it was based heavily in spirituality and faith and hope and striving for better. You go to Stargate, it was kind of a cross of history and mythology meets technology. It was kind of a cross almost between the intellectual side of Star Trek and mythological with a little bit of a steampunk flair. All of these things have very specific cultures and styles and viewpoints they were tackling from a very specific view. And these modern franchise readaptions all feel like the same thing from every franchise. They don't have the unique linchpin that they each had originally. It's the same. There's my little rant.
Well, it's a good rant, and what's kind of ironic is that before the 21st century, what the terminology for franchise didn't just mean with regards to like the show or how it would spin off, but also the franchise of the episode. What is the structure of each episode? For something like, say, Boston Legal, you'd start off with a teaser, which would lead into your main your opening credits, and then you have a couple of research scenes, some comedy, a courtroom scene, followed by a closing statement, and then it's Denny Crane and his buddy Alan Shore on the balcony smoking cigars, recounting the episode. That was the formula and what was considered the franchise of the show. And other television shows have that.
Had their formula at how things happen throughout intervals. There are always the jokes that there were of Star Trek. Well, first of all, if you ever heard Bobby Pickett's Star Trek, they talked about how I suggest it's too early to solve any major problems. I suggest you wait till it's later with further plot complications. Which there's a truth to that. There was a truth to each genre having its own specific way it ran through the stories. There's a truth to how it functioned. There's a reason why the saying is "Live fast, die red," because there was okay, look, they're going down on the planet, and there's a red shirt with them that's never been there before. Guess who's going to be the human sacrifice to show the emotion of the moment?
Well, hey, not only that, but Scotty and Uhura both got attacked. Like Uhura got mind wiped by Nomad, and I think Scotty got killed by him too, and then revived. Like they were main characters on the show, and they weren't even saved by the red shirt curse.
You remember they mentioned part of the formula of the original series when Scotty showed up on Next Generation, when he was talking to Geordi, and he's talking about, I let him know that it would take this long. That's great. How long will it really take? That's how long. You cannot expect to get a reputation as a miracle worker if you tell them how long it's actually going to take, boy.
Oh, there's that scene, yeah.
It takes like 10 times longer on the original series than it actually took.
Well, one thing that the original series had that unfortunately was lost in the Next Generation and the Berman era was a sense of urgency and a sense of more analysis of Discovery and the human condition. Like the Next Generation, those first 3 seasons were divisive, but not nearly divisive what we currently have now. But they did do exploration things. But once we got into season 4 and then into DS9 and Voyager, it was more about the state of the galaxy and less about exploring new worlds and new planets and civilizations.
And that was part of what we lost. At least they did keep the cerebral aspect where they're arguing over the morality of how to deal with people, how to interact with people on planets, and all that. At least stayed.
Yes, absolutely. Like they kept the heart.
Yeah.
They kept the heart, but they lost maybe a ventricle.
Yeah. I think that's a fair way to assess it, actually.
Yeah,
Okay.
And then what happened here with Discovery, it's basically like they didn't even know where to put the heart to begin with.
No, they stuck the heart in their foot and then shoved it up their ass.
And now I guess CBS and Paramount are feeling it because they're not being licensed anymore.
I'm sorry, I don't know why I had to say it that way.
Yeah, that's why I'm kind of dreading this upcoming production season, because if they do call me up, I don't know how the heck I can fix anything that they do. Like I just don't. It's just after what I saw in season 2, it's
guys.
like no. Like, do you want to know what the worst note I heard when they were shooting the first season of Star Trek Discovery? One of my friends was hired to be a Klingon in the background, and they were given the direction to walk like regal royalty. And she's like, Klingons? Like, they're warriors. They're not royal.
Yeah.
May I point out that a lot of the Klingon personality was because Roddenberry was friends with the Sioux tribe and spent a lot of time on the res, and he picked up a lot of the warrior stuff from natives and the hardcore way we fight. There was nothing regal about it. It was guttural guerrilla warfare.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and that was some of the stuff that he further incorporated in after the motion picture with like the film series and then TNG, because beforehand they were just kind of an allegory for like Russians.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving on to the short trek. Trailer. So the short treks to me, when I watched the short treks trailer, oh God, what can I say? Like all I'm stuck on, and we were talking about, we touched on this briefly last night in the Bounding into Comics stream. Like, man, that elevator scene with Spock talking to Number One was just so cringy and so forced. I mean, I guess it tried to make this weird sort of, I guess, sexual tension moment. I don't know what they were going for with that, but it was just bad. It was really bad, and I was not impressed by that at all. And it's a shame because, you know, the one sort of redeeming value about Discovery was, you know, the Captain Pike stuff, and when they sort of just shoved it over into short trek, and
had him be part of them massacring tribbles, pretending like they were flesh eating and all this stuff. It was creepy as hell and stupid. And I'm sorry, you don't screw the tribbles; they're cute.
Well, you know, I mean, what are these people all of a sudden all turn into Klingons?
I know, right?
They're gonna kill tribbles. They're gonna eat tribbles.
They had one of the best crossover episodes when they did the Trials and Tribulations.
Oh yeah,
they pieced that in continuity to the episode original beautifully.
Oh yeah, that was amazing. That was an amazing piece of editing.
Giving Worf a hard time about what do they still sing songs of the Great Tribble Hunt?
Mm-hmm.
That was considered reviled that they hunted the tribbles because yes, they breed like crazy, but they're an innocent creature.
Yeah, that was DS9 was one of that was one of the best episodes of DS9 was Trials.
And women wore less. Oh,
yeah. Well, dude, yeah, Dax in that uniform, like, hello, give me more, please.
Yeah, a straight woman, and I have to admit she was sexy as hell in that uniform.
Yeah, I was like, okay, yes, please.
I do miss the old the original Star Trek style of things. It just had more flair and color to it. I like the phasers were cool, the tricorders were cool. I like the fact that there's analog switches because they are technically more reliable than a digital coded console. Because if an error pops up on a digital console, you got to go through like lines upon lines of code. But if a switch is not working, you just replace the switch in the wire and you're good to go. Like, yeah. But
I like Jenny's comment there.
Yeah,
because I loved that movie growing up because I loved Spock learning how to speak in colorful metaphors, trying to interact with emotional humans. No bullshit then. This is so awkward having him say bullshit. It was so hilarious.
Yeah, it was really cool, man. I liked a lot of stuff from that, but man, they just there's nothing cool about the new Star Trek stuff, and the short treks. I feel bad because Rebecca Romaine does a good job and Anson Mount does a good job, and their performances are wasted.
Oh, absolutely. Like, they were amazing. What really kind of threw me off, especially when Discovery started, is that the initial announcement alluded to the show being about number one from the pilot. Like it was going to be her story aboard, I guess, the Discovery after her time on the Enterprise. So that's what I was looking forward to. And then they pull in this whole ward or pseudo sibling to Spock. And I'm like, okay, I'll bite and take a look at it, and then they just don't do anything with it. It's a show called Discovery. They have not discovered a single thing other than how low can Star Trek fall before people give up. And
they've also discovered how to be completely self-entitled pricks who don't really care about trying to adhere to any moral standards.
Yeah, it's kind of like all over the place, and that's the inherent problem with the newer Star Trek. As our esteemed friend Gary says, bad reboot. They just do, they just do. God, they're just terrible with that. It just.
My opinion of the guys at Bad Robot is that a few of them need to learn how certain things feel. That's all I'm going to say there.
Mm-hmm. I don't know, man. It's frustrating. And so then we get to the Picard trailer. Now,
sorry.
I know, like most of us in this chat, we're fans of, not only TOS for some of us, but TNG.
Basically anything before Enterprise.
And nostalgia was the name of this trailer. They just threw nostalgia bombs, dropped them on you, threw them in your face.
Intellect in the trailer, and it was really just flash and pan, nothing there.
But it was like the trailer was all flash, no substance.
Exactly. Nothing intellectual, nothing spiritual. It was just it was meant to hit your emotions without actually doing anything constructive or actually taking any serious work for the writers to create.
Well, yeah,
It was very hollow.
We're going with the trope already of, there's this girl with all these abilities and she has a destiny and she's on the run.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
okay.
Buffy did it better with Dawn. I'm just gonna put it out there.
Yeah, it's like what are you giving me? I mean, you're just basically saying this chick is the female Neo and she's on the run. It's like, come on, man.
Even Neo died.
Yeah, exactly.
And there's one thing to having a strong female hero. There's one thing to having women be a part in the story based on prophecies or history or stuff. I don't care if they want to have a new style of what Cisco was and have a female in that. If they do it intellectually and actually show respect to how Star Trek is written.
Mega Jetty.
Nothing there.
Oh, Mega Jetty, let's not get started on T'Pol, dude. I may once
Please
or
don't.
twice.
Please don't. I hate the whole idea of a sexy Vulcan. It offends my concepts of Vulcans.
Hey now.
As a friend. Live long.
Hey now. When I used to play STO, I'll have you know one of my characters was a sexy female Vulcan. Thank you.
It still bothers me intellectually.
It's not man, it's man.
Didn't Ira Graves in TNG hit on a female Vulcan that was subbing for Pulaski? I can't remember the name of the episode, but it's the one where Data gets possessed by a human being, Dr. Ira Graves, who kind of taught Noonien Soon how to build a positronic brain. And there's a character actress on there. She's been around a while. She was, I think she was Worf's wife in the TNG, Mother of Alexander, and then became Q's spouse in Voyager. She's been around a while. I can't remember what her name is right now. But yeah. She was able to be sexy and still reserved and not impede
and there's one thing,
the
if
eyes.
Just has natural sex appeal versus trying to sexualize, because there were strict rules of how Vulcans interacted sexually. So it's a fine balance.
Oh, Jolene Blaylock did a good job, man. Enterprise wasn't exactly my favorite show, but Jolene Blaylock.
I couldn't get for the continuity errors from the original ideas of the creatures and the characters. It's not Discovery or Bad Robot or that level, but
it's First Contact franchise. It's part of the First Contact universe. It's not. I don't consider it part of TOS.
It had quite a bit more intellectual in it than I felt in Enterprise myself.
Yeah.
I was great with all the movies until they did freaking Nemesis.
Brian, did you see the Picard trailer?
I've seen memes and everything else made about it, but no, I haven't caught up with that. I've honestly just I've been logged out of the Star Trek universe pretty much ever since I watched Enterprise, and that was about it. I was like, oh, okay, that's what we're gonna get now that the old man's dead and his boys have it. And it's like, nah, I'm just noping straight out of this. I'm not even gonna subject myself to it anymore.
There was a line in Futurama, way to go, Bakula, you murdered a franchise.
Yeah, Sulu said that.
Yeah, I don't know, man. With Picard, it's one of those things. Like I wanted to be in like excited.
Because I love Patrick Stewart stuff, but everything about it's making me feel cringe up my spine.
It's just I don't have that feeling that there's going to be any substance behind it, and I want to be wrong because look, Patrick
Stewart.
I should be like to steal a term for wrestling, and you guys that are wrestling fans, that I've talked wrestling with before, you guys know, they call wrestling fans marks, and I completely marked out for like all the stuff that I saw, the nostalgia stuff. Yeah, but again, it just when I look at it objectively, there's nothing there for me to really get invested in, and that's what bothers me about it. Because man, I should be like over the moon for this show. I'm a fan of the Borg. I'm a fan of TNG era stuff, and I loved all that stuff. And yeah, I just like when I can't get excited about it, I know it's gonna suck, especially when I like all the stuff that they're trying to go for. But yeah,
it doesn't have the heart in any of the ads or the information they've dropped for it. Doesn't feel right.
Exactly.
I want to be wrong. Again, as you can kind of tell by my ranting, I am the Star Trek girl here. So this is passionate for me, and I want so much every time something new Star Trek is coming out. I want to like it. I want to not hate it because I want more Star Trek in my life. But every time something new comes out, I start going, ugh. And I watch more and more of the old shows and read the old novels again because I look at it and I just feel disgusted.
Well, not only that, sorry, go ahead, Drew.
Oh, I was just going to say, we got a new sub. Hey, my boss subscribed to my channel. Bounding in Comics has subscribed to your channel.
Say hi.
I like that.
Shameless.
But the cool thing is that we can take away from that is that there was actually a very good trailer that dropped for a good piece of sci-fi, and that is they recently dropped the season 4 trailer for The Expanse. And let me tell you, if you have not watched The Expanse yet, make sure that you go and if you have an Amazon Prime account, watch it on Amazon Prime Video because you need to catch up. It's probably the best sci-fi show out there, next right up there with the Orville right now. The Expanse and the Orville are probably the top two. If you're a fan of science fiction, you're going to enjoy it. And season 4 has a lot of good things in store for us. The trailer looked amazing. The shots of the ship looked amazing. The shots of the worlds that they're going to be going to looked amazing. And I can't wait to see the stories in season 4. Script Doctor, did you see the trailer for it?
No, I only saw a couple of clips, but I've been rewatching The Expanse since since September. I've just been watching like one episode every couple of days just to kind of refresh myself, waiting for that 4th season to drop in December. So I am pretty darn excited, and I'll have to say, like, I really do love the Orville a lot, but The Expanse has got about 2 or 3 tiers of thought and kind of sci-fi elements to it that I do hope and suspect the Orville is going to be catching up to when they release their 3rd season.
I know a lot of people who they were never fans of anything Seth, and I'm not really, but they all like Orville, even though they hate everything else he's made. And that to me says something too, because it's reaching over to people who don't usually like him.
Well, here's the thing, even though we're talking about The Expanse real quick here, I will touch on the Orville like really quickly. And I will say that, Seth MacFarlane's done a pretty good job of keeping, I mean, everybody knows like he's a huge liberal, typical like Bernie supporter liberal, and that's fine. But
that's beside the point.
But he has kept the when they've done it the way that Star Trek would normally do it, which when they present
without political agenda,
when they present an issue, if they present a social issue, and they show both sides and they leave it up to the viewer, and that's the most important thing. That's why the Orville is so good.
Well, that's where you can explore conflict the best. You can explore conflict the best if you have multiple sides regarding an issue, because then you have multiple points of view, and that's where you get your drama. And that's what made Star Trek so great. And that's what makes the Orville really fun, even though they kind of dropped the ball with that trial episode in season 1. But at least they swung for the fences, and that's more than you can say for anything Star Trek Discovery has done.
So what I was saying on that is the best things have to make you humanize both sides of an issue. It can't be pushing an agenda. It has to be, these are the people in different camps who've had different experiences. How can we humanize both sides and find common ground?
I would like to take the opportunity really quick and welcome, the best boss any person can have. Our esteemed Bounding into Comics editor-in-chief, John F. Trent. Welcome him into the chat. He's on Bounding into Comics. By the way, John, I gave you a rent, so feel free to throw a shameless plug link to our site in the chat if you would. And you guys can read us on Bounding into Comics. We always strive to bring you guys the best and interesting news and pop culture with our own unfiltered opinions and no BS. So, there you go. So make sure that you check out.
Subscribe.
Yep, and subscribe to our YouTube channel because every Wednesday we do a Bounding into Comics panel on there, hosted by John himself. So, and usually all the writing staff's on there, most of us. So we have a good time with that. Brian, have you seen? Did you see the season 4 Expanse trailer?
No, I haven't checked out The Expanse. I'm actually, I got it pulled up on Amazon Prime, and I'm throwing it into a list right now.
Nice.
The most interesting new bit of sci-fi I think I've found this year was Another Life with Katie Sackhoff. I thought that was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually, when they were getting ready to put out Another Life, I did a story about that because, you guys know I'm like a Battlestar friggin' nut. So like I was all over that story, and I put out an article before it premiered, and I really wanted to check that out. Unfortunately, I personally don't have Netflix right now, and it sucks because it's like, hey, life of a starving writer, but the one good thing is I have Amazon Prime Video, so I can watch The Expanse.
Nice.
Yeah, I have Amazon. I don't have Netflix. I hate Netflix.
I also wanted to say, by the way, I left a link for you, John, if you care to join the panel. There's one in your DMs on Twitter, and there's one on our Slack. So, but going back to that, yeah, I could pretty much watch The Expanse right now. If I can get some extra money, I'm holding on to that for when Peacock launches, because I will wind up reviewing the Battlestar show when the
At this point, yeah, I'm gonna have to do at least a short membership to Peacocks, just because I am not going to miss the future Psych movies, which they bought.
Wait, what? They're doing. Are you talking about the series Psych?
Yeah, they switched all the future movies planned for it to Peacock Stream instead of USA.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
And I'm not missing. No. I am not freaking missing Psych stuff. You got to understand. I bought this from Dule Hill's certified account. It's one of the cast sets from the series.
Is that the pineapple?
Uh-oh.
This is the specialized pineapple that was for the cast after the show. I bought it from Dule Hill. I spent some money to get this for my husband, if that tells you how much we like Psych. Okay? I'm not missing a Psych movie. So I'm going to have to, at some point, get that stupid service, even if it's temporarily. There are a few things I have some real passion about.
Oh,
That's one of
there's
them.
nothing wrong with passion. Passion makes life worth living.
Yeah. So JJ had a question in the chat. Sith Lord 3827. He said, "Wasn't The Expanse a sci-fi show?" And yep, no, John so nicely just explained it. But yeah, basically, to give you some background, Sith Lord, there was. It was on Sci-Fi, as John said, for the first 2 seasons, and then what happened was it got canceled. There was a huge, groundswell of support from the fans that were really ticked off that it got canceled. A lot of people started a social media campaign, hashtag Save the Expanse, and then it turned out that Bezos himself, the head guy of Amazon, everybody knows Bezos. He was a fan of the show too, and he pretty much said, "Okay, I'm going to pick this up," and Amazon picked it up and has wound up, really putting money behind it. So it's been even better in the later seasons.
Yeah, because Amazon, The Expanse was a fluke on Sci-Fi. Like, people who watched that network had no idea quality could be this good on Sci-Fi Channel when The Expanse dropped. I was shocked that they canceled that and kept Killjoys. Like, that just baffled me.
Yeah, no, dude,
Right.
what? I remember that.
I'm really happy it found a home at Amazon. And I hope it's gonna be able to run through to a really gratifying conclusion.
Yeah, Brian, you're gonna enjoy watching that because that's really good sci-fi, and it's quite interesting because the world building in it and and the story beats that it has are just, I mean, dude, it's hard to explain. It's just really amazing, and the coolest thing about it is it combines such cool different things. There's like a fusion, like there's a detective story, there's traditional sci-fi, there is like some political class style story, class warfare stories in there. There's just so many different elements.
Nice.
Well, what I love about it is that they pose the question: what happens if the United Nations becomes not a forum, but like a world government, and then China takes over Earth, and all these little factions and things kind of spread out in their own direction. It's really fascinating.
Yeah, it is. It is actually. So, I mean, me personally, right now, it's my favorite sci-fi show. I mean, I would put The Expanse first and The Orville second. No, there's a lot of people that are Trek fans that'll put The Orville first and The Expanse second, but I'm an Expanse guy. I will put The Expanse first in my personal list
Which
anyway.
I haven't gotten to watch yet. It's in the list of things we're going to go through, but
No, I promise you'll enjoy it, Rosetta. It's really cool. So yeah, the season 4 trailer was really good. So for anybody that has been watching it religiously, if you haven't seen the season 4 trailer yet, you'll enjoy it when you do see it. And then everybody's of course looking forward to season 4 when it starts.
And 5. I'm just so happy they got a season 5 as well. That's great.
Yeah, that too. Mm-hmm. So the next topic we're going to touch on, I know we were talking about last week, we were going to cover the fallout from the Joker. And I don't know how many of you saw the Joker movie on the panel. Rosetta, did you see it yet?
I don't go to theaters, really. It has medical and mental issues for me.
Brian?
I actually didn't have to see it. I I watched a quick rundown on it when I was going through and gathering all my information on what news stations were actually trying to blow this trying to make something into news that wasn't news.
They were trying to encourage a shooter. Let's be honest.
Okay, and SD, I'm sure you've seen it.
I did see it, and I have to say its fallout was that it's the #1 movie in North America.
Right.
Well, here's the thing, and you know, you guys touched on it there. You know, we saw a lot of you know, the mainstream media and everything running these crazy reports like
the Joker movie.
you know, extra security, violence expected. You know, incel violence is going to happen.
Do you remember the old Simpsons episode where they went to Duffland? Do you remember Duff Man? Drink Duff responsibly. That's what the media was doing. Is yelling, "Shoot up! Don't shoot up!"
Well, the problem was they needed something.
They wanted to gaslight, you know, a tragedy basically, you know, in order to get like clout or basically for them just to say, you know, we're right. They want to stay relevant on the backs of a tragedy. The media wanted to be able to say, look, we predicted this, we're right. So they wanted to come out and say, you know, you need us. We informed you that this was going to happen, and oh man, you need us. And the truth is, there was no violence. Let's see, there's been some. I laughed because some of the various articles that have come out, you know, even though nothing happened, you know, some of the articles by the haters in the big media sites are like. 2 men arrested for disturbance for smoking in theater during Joker, and it's
because it's not like that doesn't happen in movies all the time when people just decide they're not going to obey the rules.
It's like, come on?
People like to break the rules. It's not a big thing other than they're jackasses and the police overreacted.
That guy smoked a cigarette. You know, I mean, go figure. But I mean, so that's essentially the incel violence that we got for the Joker.
Well, what's really sad is how the media completely doesn't even know what an incel is. Like, an incel has resentment to women because they're rejected by women. Like, that is not anywhere in the Joker film at all, and I don't even know why they try to make that reach. Like, it just baffles my mind. I'm surprised that they haven't done stories saying, you know, all of our warnings about this possible violent film inciting violence were all deterred by our articles, so that's why you can enjoy the theater experience.
If I might interject on that, I can tell you why they tried to infer that, for the same reason why they tried to play off the fandom menace as being only straight white men, because they are afraid to death to admit that the people that they disagree with are not these sexist basement dwelling cousin humpers they try to play us off as.
Well, it's the new culture of buzzwords, SD. You know, I think you nailed it, dude. It's people toss out those terms, you know, immediately when there's a disagreement or when somebody is just so far convinced that their opinion is correct and yours is not. They will go to the list of buzzwords. And it starts with, you know, misogynist, racist, you know, sexist.
I want to focus on misogyny and attacking men. Why can't we focus on the fact that these third wave feminists are misandrous? They are anti-male.
Well, see, that's the thing, though. They all the time they just go to these buzzwords without truly understanding the meaning of them, and that's a problem, because, you know, when you have like real extremist racists out there, okay, you're diminishing actual racism, because you're just throwing out racist at anything, you know, making this huge generalization, and it doesn't work.
The other problem is with this is the more they throw around these terms, the more they cheapen what they actually are. It's the same way with the Me Too stuff and the fake rape claims and all this stuff. It really hurts the victims, because it gets to the point where none of us, no matter what happens to us, no matter what we've been through, no matter what experience, even if it's stupid, irritated us because it was clearly bigoted and moronic.
Mm-hmm.
We can't talk about it without instant accusations of you're making this up.
So basically, we had zero violence. We had nothing happen except for the Joker to set a freaking record. So
Yeah, the only news reports I have found out about at all were ABC in New York. Some guy apparently drank too much liquor and was enjoying the scenes where he was killing people a little too much, and they had him removed.
Again, there's jackasses like that in every movie.
I mean, otherwise it was a pretty quiet thing. You only had CNN and ABC really trying to make a thing out of it after it premiered and everybody figured out, oh, it is what it is.
Let me throw a little theorizing and conspiracy into this, because CNN and ABC very, very largely fund full gun support laws. They also are the ones that are the quickest to jump in, pushing every narrative of every shooting and pushing that shootings are going to happen before they even do. Always them first, and they're the ones pushing.
Yeah, they push.
That's called fear mongering.
They push the gun.
Yellow journalism.
They push the gun grabbing agenda too, though.
It's insidious, because the largest way to inspire true evil people and true incels is to let them know that they can become famous if they do it, because you will report it.
No, yeah, I know. They were trying hard
to create these things so they can report on them, so they can take weapons.
Yeah, they were trying pretty hard.
I remember in the 90s where the papers wouldn't even report a single murder, let alone all of them.
And reporting, it's one thing. Stop making the names of these monsters famous. Start focusing on the victims and not the monsters, because that's going to do more to stop these things than anything else. Because they're doing it to be famous.
And it's completely distracting from the fact that the Joker is, while it is an enjoyable movie, it's nothing new. It's just a veneer over better films. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's it. And while some people can call it a genius for cinema, it's definitely, I would say, it's not a breath of fresh air, but it's definitely a breath of like stolen air. Like, it's really nice to see a movie like this come in to the front foyer and be different from all these other stuff that we've had this year or in the last like 5-6 years. It's definitely artistic in style. It really is all about Joaquin Phoenix just having fun and embellishing all the weirdness that he wants to get out on camera, and it's a joy to watch. But I mean, this is not a. I mean, it's going through its 15 minutes of fame right now. This is a movie people are going to kind of forget as soon as December hits, and I doubt they'll be talking about it, this time next year. And the crazy rumors about like doing a Lex Luthor and now a Two-Face movie in the same type of style, you're just going to rob the uniqueness that Todd Phillips did with his approach to Joker, even though it's, again, not really unique.
If they let Todd Phillips like just go ham on Two-Face, though, I think he would do a good Two-Face movie. I mean, because Two-Face fascinates me. I think there's like
it'll be like an American Psycho if he does it.
Yeah. That would be really good. I mean, me personally, I like the Two-Face character, so
I thought Christian Bale should have played Two-Face, not Batman.
Yeah, you got a point, SD. You got a point. I think you have done really well with that.
With Batman iterations, anyways, because to me, I've never felt one where I really felt the character in both Bruce and Bat from anybody, because it really was, he created a split personality in his head, and in the comics they're so distinct from each other in personality whether he's in the costume or not. And usually in all the movies you get somebody who's really good as Batman and doesn't have the spirit of the Playboy, or vice versa. He's got the spirit of the Playboy down, but he kind of falls flat once he's in the suit doing the other scenes.
Like George Clooney. He nailed Bruce Wayne, but...
No, George Clooney didn't do either right. He sucked out loud. I mean...
Well, that's the best part of Bruce Wayne, is that his public persona is that he kind of sucks. Like, you're not supposed to be able to say, yeah, I buy him.
Yeah, you're not supposed to like him.
Yeah. I mean, I liked Michael Keaton's take, but my favorite Batman has been Adam West, just because if you if you take a look at Adam West's approach and all the stuff he says in that show and just think, if that was what's going on in Batman's head and he didn't say it out loud, he would be the most comic accurate Batman ever.
Also, for crying out loud, look at how many episodes with all the action, with everything else he did in a couple of years flat.
And he was like 35, 36 when he started that role and pushing 40 when he ended it.
Like it's old. Please don't.
I mean, no, I mean, like compared now to Hollywood, like they're never going to cast a person like, they're never going to do what they do with Ben Affleck in Batman v Superman again.
I was just saying that because you said it like it was shocking. He was 35, 36, and 35 about to turn 36.
Yes, I'm in the same boat. Like, but again, like I live half my year in LA, so like as soon as you pass 30, you're considered old hat. Doesn't even matter if you're like an actor or a writer or a director. It's like you're 30 and like you're not a household name yet. I'm sorry, your career's pretty much over. Just keep struggling along at your medium level or whatever until you get some sort of like genius role like Paul Giamatti does or something like that. But like, yeah, there hasn't been really a hugely definitive, I guess, Batman. Not like, again, Adam West is kind of my definitive Batman. Like, he's brilliant, he's smart, he's good-hearted. Yeah, he doesn't have any of like the darkness that we got in the late 60s and early 70s in the comic books, but I mean the conviction is there. That's what kind of like really throws me off with this entire concept with the Batwoman show is like, you have to have a really damn good reason for me to believe why Batman is gone, and you have to have Batwoman come in to take his place.
I hate Batwoman in both the comics and the show. Every little clip I've seen of it, even without watching it, made me want to fall asleep. So I have no reason to watch Batwoman.
It's not even Batwoman. It's just bad. Like my entire video and the script that I wrote for it, it doesn't address any of the agenda stuff because there isn't any really in there. It's just really bad. And I feel really sorry for this show developer who put it together, because she has to be better than this if she got that position, because no one can write this bad and still have a job in Hollywood. It's like
my opinion of modern Hollywood doesn't bode with that part. But
well, why would they put together a very like anti-male trailer then?
The trailer is very anti-male.
Oh, that has to do more with marketing, because again, like I mentioned last stream, marketing is what's actually ruining Hollywood more so than the studio heads and their decisions, because their decisions are based on what the marketing department can get away with for the cheapest expense. So when they cut together that Batwoman trailer, they did it purely to try and incite rage and free publicity through YouTube and social media to get the ratings for the show. And because they weren't actually honestly marketing the show, it backfired tremendously. People went to watch this thing to hate it for like kicks, and it ended up just being so bad nobody cared.
Yeah, I watched some clips, and all I could say is it was literally boring me to sleep.
Oh wow.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I just that bothered me when I saw that trailer. I mean, that completely turned me off to the show even before.
I'm so sick of the male bashing in Hollywood. And
yeah.
Yeah, and I'm kind of with you there, Jetty. I know a lot of people have issues with different things in that movie, but I think he had the personality. People just didn't quite get him because he's kind of a weird guy.
Oh yeah, Val Kilmer's Batman was fun.
There are moments in that movie that are great, even if there were moments that were a little awkward. But I've also talked to a lot of people who mix up that and then Batman and Robin, and Batman and Robin's like 1,000 times worse.
Oh God, I don't want to. I don't know that I want to remember that movie.
You've never
I know.
Oh, man, I've seen that movie. I don't know that.
I will say this though:
that.
Batman and Robin is far better than the J.J. Abrams Superman flyby script.
Yeah, this is true.
Anything is better than J.J. Abrams. I'm just gonna say that.
I'm not. You know,
Nova came. Hey, I could be watching J.J. Abrams shit. So
I think Keaton is still my favorite Batman. To be honest.
couldn't.
He's definitely the first big on-screen Batman that actually did detective work in a movie.
Yeah.
I couldn't stomach his Bruce.
Yeah.
It didn't feel right to me, and it kind of threw the entire movies out of whack.
It did. It did. I could see that too. No.
So that's why I said I don't think I can actually say I've absolutely loved any Batman movie because I've never loved anyone fully in both parts. I think the one who I think filled out the suit the best and still had some of the Playboy mannerisms was Kilmer. But I think because he's such a deadpan in his face, because the way he carries himself in real life, and because of his chameleon tendencies, he didn't project it as well to the screen as a lot of people.
He also didn't have much to play with in that role either.
No, they didn't give him a lot of free room. Although I will say my brother had the giant wall poster of Kidman bent over rubbing her leg as the doctor for years. So, I mean, there's definitely things with that, and it absolutely was not a bad movie overall when you look at some of the other Batmans we've had.
No, I mean, I enjoyed the Christopher Nolan trilogy, but that to me felt more like James Bond playing Batman. I really like the Tim Burton stuff, but Batman is not really a dual character. He's more like a tri-character. Like there's the core Bruce Wayne, and then he plays two roles.
Yeah.
One is public Bruce Wayne, one is Batman.
I will say I really don't like Tim Burton. I can handle some of his live action stuff more than I can his animated, but he leaves such a raw note in my mouth for so many reasons.
Well, it's just because I guess we've gotten stale to his style over the years. Like he hasn't really grown or changed it.
Animated movies. I think it's because I'm more traditional Gothic, and I really am not a fan of the modern Goth style, and they really don't actually go hand in hand with each other. But I've never been a fan of Burton. But again, he worked on Batman Forever, but there wasn't a lot of his really creepy, weird stuff in it. It was done just the right balance to have that traditional Gothic feel without going over the top.
Well, kind of. He was left on board for the third one because it was part of his contract. Like they pushed him aside as soon as basically parents complained about Batman Returns for being a little bit too much with the innuendo, and companies didn't want to license out all the merchandise for it. Like McDonald's was a big factor in that, if I recall correctly, and some of the video games and toys did not perform as well as they were expecting.
Yeah.
So that's why they went to a completely different direction, and Michael Keaton just didn't want to do that. And so that's why we got the Joel Schumacher change of pace. And
some of that stuff, I was quite a bit of a kid when most of that was going on. I just know which ones I didn't appeal to me as well. And I can't even say it was because they went so sexual with some of it or so dark with parts of it. Because, again, I was the Gothic kid. I was reading weird, twisted Gothic novels when I was like 6. I learned to read with Shakespearean poetry, so I had a twisted sense anyways. It had to be the right kind of twisted to my mind. It's like if you compare, like, and this goes back to teasing Odin the other day, but I have to do it anyways. If you compare, like, the Addams Family show, the original, to the 90s movies, both have good. But the original show is based more traditional Gothic, and the movies picked up a lot of that 90s Goth. And so they don't have the same feel. You know what I mean?
You're talking about the Aston show, right? From the old, yeah. No, that one was totally had its own unique style of Gothic, and then with the Raul Julia one was within the same thing, but on like a slightly different spectrum.
Yeah, it was very 90s Goth. It had the different elements. When you take Gothic and it comes out of the traditional black lace, the fascination with death, the historical and all that stuff, and you put it with Goth, which was based in punk rock and death metal kind of stuff, they're really distinctly different cultures. So when they overlay, sometimes there's issues to the people in both groups. So it's just that balance line.
Yeah, sorry, guys.
Don't tell me you're not a Kilmer fan. I've been defending you to everybody as being awesome.
So, yeah, I had to run to the restroom for a second, and little Apollo is he's the newest member of our family here. He was he was like meowing his little head off. that.
It's a lot like Ornery did when she was little.
Yeah. Oh, you like hamming it up, don't you, buddy?
Okay, one second. One sec.
Yeah, so it looks like touching on moving over to Star Wars real quick. So it looks like from what I'm seeing on Twitter, and I know we had a story about it on Bounding, that looks like the Rian Johnson trilogy for Star Wars isn't going to happen. Script Doctor, they had an interview with him, and he made it sound as if it's just not happening at all now. So it looks like
I never believed it was going to happen.
it looks like with Feige coming in, maybe the Benioff and Weiss trilogy ain't going to happen either.
Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, that would be quite helpful. I didn't believe for a second that Rian Johnson was going to get a trilogy. It just seemed to kind of shoot from the hip for Disney, especially at the time, because it was within 12 hours after The Last Jedi hit that people started going, "What the hell is this?" like online. Even though it didn't really make money. One of the things that even the general public don't realize is that you assume, okay, with the budget's like say 100 million, the marketing budget's also going to be like 100 million, and so they have to make like 200 million to break even type of thing. It's actually way different. They have to make at least 25% more than what you would expect. Sorry, a third. Whatever they take in at the box office, a third of that is actually what they collect after expenses. So if something makes $1 billion, they're only really making like 250 million, because that's how much they've spent not just on marketing but on budget and distribution of the movie to various theaters throughout the world. And when The Last Jedi hit and people just started reacting to it not the way Disney planned, it when they did the announcement of Rian Johnson getting a trilogy of his own, almost everybody I knew in LA was like, "What, really?" I mean, some of them liked the movie a lot, and fine with that, but everybody else was wondering like, "What the heck is going? Why is Disney doing this? Disney never does anything like this."
Yeah, it didn't make sense.
And part of me also thinks that NBC and WB and HBO kind of played a practical joke on Disney by beefing up the excitement for Game of Thrones. I think what they were trying to do is just trying to build it up as much as they can so Disney would end up paying out a lot of money to get D&D on board, and knowing that they were going to give a bad quality project crippled Disney so that Warner Brothers could recoup some of that available capital for their future projects when it would be released. And then the fact that Netflix kind of interjected there kind of screwed up that a little bit. But yeah, it's just everything that's been going on with Disney the last 3 years has been completely crazy. I mean, in 2012, they were the place everybody wanted to work if you are in production or a writer, because they were really open to new ideas. They were willing to experiment with some of their like smaller production houses, and everybody had a great time. And as soon as they bought Lucasfilm and the Star Wars property, that whole company just changed.
Absolutely. Oh, I was gonna say, Drew, see what I mean? Your kitten reminds me of when she was little. Shut up, Ornery.
Yeah, a little Apollo here. He's really needy. He likes to be around people. He is definitely already a people guy.
She doesn't like to be around most people, but she really clings to me to an unhealthy level.
But
she also whines when she's happy. She purrs and whines at the same time.
But yeah, this guy, he's all about people, and if you don't pay attention to him, man, he gets really vocal. This cat has a meow like you ain't heard. He might be like tiny, but my God, his meow is as big as a full-grown cat.
Nice.
But yeah, this guy's kept me on my toes the last few days, man. I've been getting late starts, like getting up because man, he keeps me up at night because I got to make sure like he doesn't get into something that he shouldn't.
Said meow, and she leans up, puts her head next to the headphones where she's hearing your voice from, and starts meowing. Like, I'll show you a meow.
Yeah.
So have any of y'all read or watched the leaked plot from Reddit for episode 9 yet?
I don't
You know,
care.
I've heard a couple of different leaked plots. There's so many swirling around right now.
It's the most current one off Reddit. I'd have to go back and check into the name, but
I don't care what anything is if it's being made by Disney. I am fully in the Duck Disney camp.
yeah, I've seen it, man. But God, you know, it's if they actually do that with Star Wars, it's so like far fetched, man. My God, like I don't know.
Is this the one with Han Solo as a Force ghost helping Leia and Luke defeat Palpatine, or?
it's Leia and Luke helping Rey defeat Palpatine, I think was the way I read it. With the deflecting of the lightning and whatnot.
Oh, with that new Force power that Ryan Johnson introduced?
Yeah, they do have Ghost Han, but Ghost Han helps turn Kylo against the Emperor.
And we just point out that these idiots do not even understand what the purpose of the Force and the Spirit is. Sorry.
Yeah, I'm not sure if they do have any Star Wars writers there. A lot of during the Lucasfilm acquisition, a lot of the part-time staff writers that George Lucas would like kind of shepherd. Well, he didn't shepherd them himself, like, but they were just there to sort of like learn and work with some of the crew. They did not go with the rest of Lucasfilm. They were all left on their own, and they were a lot of the people that kind of like, you know, some of them worked on Clone Wars. I think a couple of them are finally coming back for season 7 of Clone Wars, but a lot of them just went off to other venues, and Disney didn't really have anyone on staff within Lucasfilm that really did write Star Wars the way they wanted to see Star Wars being written. I mean, for crying out loud, Rogue One wasn't even pitched by a writer, but by a special effects consultant and compositor. And if that was the best pitch they got when they were taking ideas, and given Rogue One was fun, it wasn't really the best it could be. That's pretty sad.
Well, I think it's a high crime that they didn't keep Gareth Edwards involved at to some degree in in some of the other movies, and also same thing with Dave Filoni. But I know Filoni has his hands full with Clone Wars, but I mean, my goodness, why would you not keep a guy that has been like successful? Like, why would you not give him a more increased role? And the same thing with Gareth Edwards. If they after they saw what Rogue One did, I mean, and it's widely since it's come out been considered one of the go-to on most people's Star Wars lists for the movies. It's like, why would you not, grab that guy and say, hey, you're onto something. Let's continue with what you're doing. You get the pulse of the fans, and see that's I don't get some of the hires in this sense. People like Filoni and Edwards and some of the other ones, they understand the lore, the canon, the way that Star Wars works. So why not give these people an increased role? I don't get it.
Well, mostly it has to do with the fact that they don't want that responsibility. Once you get into a role like a vice president or president of Lucasfilm, you're not in the most creative space anymore. you're on the books, you're balancing between different teams, you're making decisions regarding developments, you're not really exercising the creative muscles. Like Filoni is great at what he does, and he knows it, and he's going to stay there as long as he can. Favreau loves to direct, and he loves to do a little bit of writing and playing around with it. He's probably going to be the best bet for taking over something like Lucasfilm, not now, but I would say maybe 15, 20 years. That's if
Yeah.
that's if it survives. I don't know. Like, I don't know at this point.
Yeah.
They really have to make a comeback with the Mandalorian, and they have to get episode 9 right.
I hope they do something really great with the Mandalorian, but I've just got something bugging me in the back of my head saying that the Mandalorian is just going to be, his real name is going to be Boba Fett's real name, Jaster or something. Like that's just what they're going to do. They're just going to repurpose the old canon from the Boba Fett books that was wiped away with the invention of the Clone Wars and the prequel trilogy, and just play it out in this series, so they have a foundation to work off of, and also hopefully sort of bring back the traditional fans and grow the fan base with newer viewers.
You got a point, SD. That might very well be what's going to happen. It sucks because I really want to see The Mandalorian. I may have to look into alternative methods because I have absolutely zero desire to want to get Disney Plus.
I have zero desire to hear Disney still exists.
Yeah, I'm still in the same boat, and because I'm in Canada right now, I do know that Disney Plus is offered up here, but there's also another thing called Crave, which pulls in shows from various streaming services and puts them on there. And my sister has that, so I don't know if I have to sign up for Disney Plus or if I just go to her house and watch it. And she's a big dork like me, so I know that wouldn't be a problem. So I'm kind of like not knowing what to do yet, and I don't think you can sign up for it until the actual day, which is what, November 12th, I think.
Yeah, it's coming up, I think, next month. So,
and I'm looking forward to it, not just for like the show itself, but also because your wonderful boss John F. Trent has said we should do a live stream covering the show, and I'm like, yeah, I want to talk Star Wars with you guys. You're especially for this type of show with this type of creative talent behind it, and this approach. It looks like it could be a lot of fun. I just hope it's not under the same mandate that the rest of the Disney Star Wars films are currently under.
Yeah, I'm gonna look into, like I said, I'm gonna look into methods to see it because I want to, I want to join in on that. Like, I want to get into that discussion with you and John, hopefully, because I'm a I've always been a Star Wars, Star Trek, BSG, Stargate guy, and those are my big four, and they always will be. So,
yeah, and I just have to say I'm really sorry because I failed the entire world. I heard pretty much shortly after the pitch by John Knoll for Rogue One that it was going to be put into production, and I begged my manager to fight for me to get on that project to help write it, because I had way better ideas for how to tell that story than what we got.
right.
And yeah, I tried, and basically they took my pitch, a written pitch, and then they just got back to me and they said, we like it, but it's not the direction we want to go. And I was like, no, it's just gonna be a fun space battle and a couple of weird things. And then lo and behold, a few months go by and you hear about, oh, they're changing directors now, they're changing screenwriters, and I really enjoyed that space battle with Blue Squadron. That was pretty fun. I like seeing Garvin Dryce again, and Gold Leader and all them, their old footage. Not a fan of the Darth Vader thing at the end. I mean, I know a lot of people like it, but I'm just like, Darth Vader doesn't need to go that extreme. Like, he's Darth Vader. He should just be walking through, and all the blaster bolts just kind of like fly around him because he force manipulates him, and then he grabs the guy, and less is more.
It is, but I didn't really have that much of a problem with the Vader sequence. I mean, it was kind of, it was a little over the top, but it was still like badass in the execution.
Oh, it was definitely badass. Like I could buy that if it was, say, you know, uh, 3 or 4 months after he got his robotic suit, like where he's still kind of young and still kind of, vigor and doing all that badass stuff, hunting down another Jedi. But 17, 18 years later, if I feel like his power would have grown so much at that point that he wouldn't need to go to those efforts. And then if you watch like Rogue One first, then jump into Star Wars, the fencing fight between Obi-Wan and Vader is really reserved, and I like that because it shows experience. Because a traditional swordsman, the more knowledge they have, the less moves they make when they're in a battle, because they're trying to conserve their endurance for the longest possible because they don't know how long that battle is going to be.
Right.
And what's also awesome is that Obi-Wan just gives up at the end because he's matched Vader, and Vader's kind of matched him. It's a permanent stalemate. And there's so many other layers to that. I do have a video about that whole thing that I'm saving for.
I'm
saving.
Yeah, I was gonna say I'm partial to that SC 38. That was
The re-edit thing, yeah.
The re-edit that was pretty awesome. Like, whenever I watch A New Hope, I would have to stop during that sequence and just watch the SC-38, because man, that thing just jumped into my head canon after I watched it. I'm like, yeah.
Well, that thing's a lot of fun. My personal take on it is just that it feels kind of out of place with the experience at least the experience and understanding that I know when it comes to like swordsmanship.
Oh yeah.
But don't get me wrong, like some of the stuff is really, really good.
Hey, Script, say something in chat so Jetty can subscribe to you. He wants to.
Oh yeah. Let me just see if I can find that.
Sorry to interrupt. I just try to make sure that he can follow everybody. I thought that was important.
Okay. So I just put my link, my channel in the chat. And do I have my Twitter thing here? Twitter's easier.
Okay.
There we go.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jeff, aka Mega Jetty 1.
Right.
But yeah, as I was saying, I've been working on this video for like 2 months, and I'm going to be dropping it around the time of the Rise of Skywalker, and it's a very unique take on the original trilogy that I have not found anyone on YouTube or the internet ever look at or address. So I'm hoping I'm going to be the first one, and I really hope a lot of people watch it and like it, and it may very well change your perspective of Star Wars for the better.
Oh man, I'm excited for that, dude.
So I'm working on this thing rigorously. I'm making sure that every point I bring up, I can back up with visual evidence from the trilogy. I'm making sure that the argument is sound. I'm making sure the philosophy is there, and I'm just going to make sure it's the best thing I can make for this part, because Star Wars is such a great and wonderful fantasy story. And I don't want to do a disservice to it with a bad video or bad commentary on it. So
with the last 15-20 minutes we got left, I was gonna kind of bring this up because I can move into the arena of video games here, and I don't know how many of you, I don't think aside of me and maybe Brian are the gamers on the panel, but yeah, so we have some interesting stuff here, and I actually I wrote this for Bounding. I'm gonna pull it up here. It has a lot of what?
Sorry, I'm a little distracted on you the last few minutes.
Oh no, that's fine. Go ahead. So yeah, I kind of wanted to bring this up because it's interesting. I mean, over the last couple days, there's been a really, really, really crazy like reaction to like Blizzard, the people that make Overwatch and they make WoW and Hearthstone, obviously. Um, they they have professional competitions. You know, they have Overwatch tournaments. They have things like that. Well, there was one for Hearthstone, and this gentleman named Blitzchung, he was suspended from competition. He also had his winnings stripped because in a post-match interview, he said, "Liberate Hong Kong, revolution of our age." He's from Hong Kong, and this was on you know the Taiwan affiliate of Blizzard. They immediately cut the stream, and they actually fired the broadcasters that interviewed him too. I mean, it was crazy. You want to talk about crazy oppressive censorship and everything else? I mean, that was just nuts. So in the last like 48 hours, it's really touched off a groundswell of support for the protests in Hong Kong and everything else. So you got the hashtag that started boycott Blizzard. You got another one, hashtag BlizzardGate. It's been really crazy. And I guess like yesterday, they had actual Blizzard employees that walked out, and about 30, somewhere between a dozen and 30 walked out, and they in support of this kid. And there was actually an American competition of Hearthstone where they had it among teams from different colleges, and like two of the teams, when they showed the teams on screen, held up signs, said "Liberate Hong Kong," and they got censored. So it's like Blizzard has had a horrible look the past couple of days, because it looks like they are just blatantly selling out to Chinese money. And it kind of makes you think, because we think we take for granted some of the companies that we support for our entertainment purposes, and even like in the movie business, man, that those Chinese dollars, it's like a lot of these companies are just sacrificing their principles for the Chinese money. And I think a lot of people are now starting to come around to that and wake up to that, especially after this incident, because this went national news, guys. This was on Fox News. They covered it on CNN. Yeah, it's out there. So there's no putting this back in the box for Blizzard. And Blizzard has BlizzCon coming up next month, and they're talking about like shutting down protests at BlizzCon, or shutting down anybody that asks a question related to this. I mean, it's so crazy. I don't understand why Blizzard would make statements like that. I mean, you're an American company espousing American values, but you're telling people, oh, you're going to be silenced if you bring this up.
It's actually it absolutely is a dichotomy. It makes no sense. It's absolutely anti-liberty. It's anti-sanity. And to strip somebody's winnings and rights away just because they said something you don't like is draconian in the extreme. It is illogical in the extreme, and it is something I think we all need to be really carefully aware of, and not just supporting and blindly putting up with.
Well, it makes you think, because, like, I mean, there's been a lot of gamers, a lot of my friends, since they've read the story and whatnot, that have used like that play Overwatch, play WoW. I know a bunch of people that canceled subs and everything else. They're just like done with Blizzard. I did the same thing. I actually have the Overwatch Game of the Year edition. I uninstalled it. I want nothing to. I am not gonna back Blizzard at all.
Completely understand.
And I hope it's a cautionary tale for people to sort of do some consumer research when you're purchasing games and things like that. I mean, the company that owns a huge stake in Blizzard, Tencent Media, and Script Doctor, I'm sure you've heard of them because they own a huge stake in Hollywood.
Yes, I have. Yes, I have.
Yeah, they have about a 48% stake in the Epic Games Store, that new store that Epic has to buy games. And as it is in the industry, people don't like the Epic Games Store since it started. So there was already a bias against it, but now, yeah, people are not going to support the Epic Store, and I won't buy anything out of that either. But I buy all my stuff from Steam anyway, so that doesn't affect me. But
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm not 100% on this, but didn't Blizzard, around the time they launched World of Warcraft, undergo like a massive staff and management change when they went in that direction?
They did. They laid off a ton of employees and
When they did the internet version, they did actually kind of do some stuff before that.
yeah.
Yes, I think it was a lot more subtle because I mean, I fell in love with Blizzard during like the Diablo and Warcraft, like original Warcraft days, like way in the mid '90s. And then it wasn't until like shortly after Diablo 2 kind of ran its course that everything started to sort of change with Blizzard and how they dished out their games, how they started doing their updates. Their whole World of Warcraft campaign was I didn't like their approach to it, so I never got involved with World of Warcraft. And like my younger cousin did, and he got so obsessed with that thing that he ended up having to like throw his disc out onto the highway because he was losing days living in this world. And he's like, they've somehow found a way to make that game the most addictive it could possibly be. And he's like, I can't be a part of a video game company that can go that far. Like I can't invest in them. And that would be like 2000. He told me that story in 2008.
Well, just the blatant like censorship and like this bowing to the, kowtowing to the Chinese, dollar. It's like, man, it bothers me when you start to step. I'm a very, pro free speech person, and when you go and start to censor, especially again when you're a predominantly American corporation and you start to censor in order to appease a communist values, that is a problem for me. And that's
a problem for me as well.
That's where I take issue, and I completely support the young man that was banned. And I understand he was in Taiwan, so that's like a no-win situation. That's like being right in the hornet's nest of it. So I hope nothing bad happens to the kid.
Like, how old is he? Like, was he born like before Hong Kong reunified with mainland China, or like has he only known the current system? Because that's kind of when China sort of became a lot more influential on the world stage.
Yeah.
Is after 1997.
It looks to me like the kid when you watch the video he looks about somewhere probably about 18, 19.
Okay, yeah. So like, yeah, he would have no frame of reference to how it was beforehand, where Hong Kong was like pretty prosperous and fun.
Yeah, back under British rule.
Back under British rule, sadly. I mean, or at least ironically in that case.
Yeah, ironically for that.
Because I remember during that time where a lot of people in Hong Kong were really excited about kind of reunifying with China, but another part was completely like, no, we don't want this because we're not communists.
Oh
And
yeah, this is this is like I said, is a growing issue because you've got Chinese dollars tied up in so many over here in our country, and say what you want, but I don't necessarily go one side of the fence or the other, but I will say this, and I don't want to, bring like get all deep into like presidential politics or anything like that. But I will say, I'm kind of happy for the trade war because it sort of put China on notice and made them nervous for the first time. And now that you have people waking up to the fact that, hey, wait a second, maybe we've let foreign money influence our culture a little too much. When you have people waking up and asking that question, that's important, and that's I think the positive out of all of this.
it is. It's also, I guess, I hope it'll change a little bit on the political spectrum because the United States has borrowed a whole lot of money from China over the last few decades.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what led to part of this. Like there's countless situations I couldn't possibly go through that have kind of put us to this point, but that's kind of one of them. And the worst part is in Hollywood is that one of the main three questions you get when you start pitching a project is how will this play in China? And all I can say is, listen, no disrespect to the Chinese people, but fuck China. I'm trying to tell a really good story here. Do you want to make it or not?
I love it,
like,
dude.
Dropping
my
back here,
sister
fuck
is
China.
from the Philippines.
Sorry.
I have Asian members of my family through marriage, and I don't care to try and placate their personal culture. I just want to tell a great story that can hit as many universal themes as possible. And sadly, because all the money is there, that's where this whole new market has opened up. It's really throwing a tailspin in the creative department. Like I said last stream, there's not just one Hollywood. There's like 4 or 5 different Hollywoods going on, and the one that's got the most influential power, it wants the Chinese dollars.
Well, see, and here's the thing, and I wanted to before we go, I'll get your guys. We'll go around the horn, and I'll get your guys' take on this. Here's a question I want to ask. A lot of the time we look at the surface level and we say like, oh, it's PC culture, it's the SJWs, it's people like that, and yeah, largely to a degree, it is people like that pushing it. But if you peel away the layers and look deeper, it's like just how much has dependence on the Chinese dollar affected the fact that we turned into this ultra hypersensitive PC culture as it is, that created these people, and that's that I'm looking at that more now. That this case sort of opens up your eyes and says, hey, wait a minute, why are people infringing and pushing for more censorship each day? Well, bingo, you have to kind of ask the question now, just how far back does this go and how much influence has China had to turn our culture so hypersensitive, politically correct? Maybe that is a contributing factor to a large degree. I think it is.
It might be. I do have a theory on that, and I think it has more to do with the introduction of the internet and social media. Because we can share ideas now, and because we can kind of more accurately record history as it's happening, as opposed to it being only recorded by the winners, there's pushback by other elements, other people, other countries that don't want to be exposed for the weird things that they're doing. I don't like what Hollywood's doing is they're trying to play both ends. They're trying to take as much of the communist money from China as they can, while also appeasing the people that don't spend money on anything at all, which is your overly politically correct Antifa, SJWs. I guess. I mean, I don't like using the term because I do know people that give themselves a moniker of SJW, but they don't do anything near the crazy stuff that we see on the news. Like they're just all about like, hey, don't use the N word. Like,
Yeah.
like, and I'm like, that's kind of reasonable. But yeah, like politically correct culture was really, it was all about just being polite and earning respect and courteous to one another, and then it just changed over the years to be completely overly sensitive, overly cautious about your words. And when you have something like the internet, which allows you, or which allows anyone to gain a voice and have their own private speaker's corner that can reach far more than just however far your voice can travel initially, I think it scares a lot of other people, and they're trying to push back on it. So I think it's a whole lot of things, but I think the internet is the impetus for it, and the byproduct is the whole cancel culture and silencing of free speech movement. I mean, there's one thing I don't want to actually have happen from the Star Trek fiction in reality, and that's a World War III. But it looks like it could be going in that direction with a lot of the reveals of what each country is kind of doing and how they're not able to hide it from the people anymore.
I don't think that's going to happen unless China goes gets ultra paranoid and goes full on expansionist. If they go full on expansionist, then I think you might see some issues.
Yeah, well, I don't know if they'll do expansionist, but the whole human rights infringement and the social credit and the Big Brother systems they're implementing right now is really scary. And
oh yeah, I absolutely, I agree 100%.
And it's just, it goes back to this kid and like what he said about like freeing Hong Kong. It's cyclical. He's making a statement that's very honest and compassionate for the people he cares about, and this totalitarian government has tried to silence him, and it's frightening, and it shouldn't be that way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. My biggest thought on this is just that PC culture has kind of always been rooted in what's known as the soft-spoken bigotry of low expectations. They want to say they're for these groups, but they don't think these groups can take as well. So they speak down to them until everybody starts getting so hypersensitive that everyone needs coddled by the government. And it all comes back to these people don't actually think anybody can take care of themselves.
Brian, what do you think? How much of an influence has China had?
Honestly, it seems like it's had a little bit of influence, but I mean, we had PC culture before in the early 90s. Luckily, we just all got over it. But now it's back and it's changed.
And it's worse than ever.
Oh yeah, it's always going to be worse than ever. It's the reboot.
Yeah. I don't think that's a reboot. I don't think that's a reboot anybody wanted, though.
Oh, well, like most reboots.
Yeah, exactly.
Just leave it where it was. They ended it fine.
Yeah.
But like now when I think of like the terms like SJW, I think of PC Principal from South Park. Where it's like some of the most like little benign bullshit, but it's like, oh well, yeah, I do see how some people could fucking get their butt hurt about that. Which to me, that's all PC is. Like you're gonna get butt hurt over words, and you're the one that's allowing those words to hurt you.
Mm-hmm.
And like, God, what kind of person are you if you're like being hurt by words? Like, how are you gonna survive in the world?
Well, that also. Yeah, like what Rosetta said, but that also goes back to the education system. Like I remember as a kid, the biggest part was like we have to compete with the Chinese students because they're doing way better in math and engineering than us.
All right.
And then as I got older and I started traveling and I visited China, I realized that's kind of a lie. They're terrible at math. That's why they study it so hard.
they compare us to it, but actually most of the people in the Asian culture who've really been excelling at that are the ones who have migrated here.
Yes.
So it's more true in American Asians than it is in other parts of the world.
Although, I'm Asian, I suck at math.
Yeah,
But-
my sister is Filipino. She sucks at math too, and she's a nurse.
See, that's why we get along, bro. See, you like Filipinos. There you go.
But like, I mean, it's not like a genetic thing. It's just a cultural thing. Like I don't know what it is, but it seems that when you have an unvetted competition between education systems through countries, you end up doing what was the most horrific thing in the education system ever, which was teach to test, which is essentially communism, where you're trying to equal out every single student just to pass a test and not really actually challenge what they're learning and giving them critical thinking ideas. And because they've been doing that worse and worse over the last 40 years, we now have a whole generation that is this SAW crazy, defensive, cancel culture, oversensitive, semi-being. I mean, they are people, but they feel incomplete, like they're just parrots of someone else's ideas.
Yeah,
Right.
I can see that. I feel it falls mostly with the parents, because like it seems.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Somewhere around the mid '90s, just for like the main thing that points out to me, like kids stopped drinking milk, because it's like what, like that's one of the like best things to give a kid is milk. And yeah, I get it. There's some people that just can't, but it's like there's just like this benchmark somewhere around like '93 where everybody just started being coddled the whole damn time, and it's like, oh no, they aren't gonna go outside. They're gonna be allowed to stay inside and play video games all day long. And
the concept of tough love is gone. It's gone, and that's hurt a lot.
Yeah, I mean, well, here's the thing. I've noticed, especially with some of my friends, as they become new parents, they're talking about like, I don't want to hit my kids. And I said, no real parent, no good parent ever wanted to hit their kids. And if they did hit their kid, it was not their opening move. It was like the last resort. You had to go distance to get a hit. I was hit by my parents twice my entire life, and I deserved both of it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. You know, I mean, there's just certain things, you know. I mean, and you know, even when you're young, when you do like one certain thing and say, "Uh-oh, I screwed up," and that's completely an ass whoopable offense.
This is one thing is that
that you done fucked up.
Yeah, you know,
evil shitheads. And see, we had this whole thing as children where, you know, my dad's disabled, he can't walk without assistance stuff. We thought that meant we could get away with more because he can't chase us as fast.
No way, man. I worked in a hospital.
No. My dad had an art being sleep in his chair and managing to pop us with his cane as we went by if we were pulling something, no matter where we were going through.
All right. Well, all I could say, you know, in conclusion is hopefully, you know, the thing that comes out of this is that, you know, people are more aware of where they spend their dollars. And I think a lot of people going forward are going to be, because this thing with Blizzard is really starting to open some eyes. And it's not only with Blizzard, it's with the NBA too, because there's been some stories about
I think
stuff.
Nike's also part of it as well.
Yeah. Oh yeah, Nike's a horrible offender for that. But anyhow, we have gone 2 hours and 10 minutes. You guys got a little extra bonus.
And you have the link. I gotta hop over and get my started. You're all invited.
Make sure you give Rose. Make sure you give Rosetta a view. Make sure you check out Script Doctor's channel. Sub to him. Check out Gravedigger's channel because his stuff's awesome. He plays the South Park game. How is that not awesome?
Yeah, that's I caught a little bit of that. That was fun.
Yeah,
it only took me a year to come back to playing it.
Yeah, so and thank you as always, guys. I mean, I know I'm a fledgling channel. I don't have many subs, and for you guys to take a leap of faith and come in and support this stream, it means the world to me, and I really do appreciate you. You guys are great friends, great fans, man, and I will continue to always keep it real for you. So make sure you check out my work at Bounding Into Comics. Check out my channel. We do this every Thursday together, 9 p.m. Eastern. So until next week, we will see you guys. And, stay cool. Take it easy. Peace.
Great show. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks, y'all.
Like I said, you're all invited to hop over to mine. The link I threw in the private chat here.
Yeah, I might join that. I want to see some of the stuff that you're doing.